Like I said, I can't discuss that. It's part of the investigation, but as soon as we can release that information, we will.
Bryan Kohberger.
Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Grizzly, and in today's video, all I really want to do is just recap what we know about the suspect who was arrested on December 30th, 2022 in the case of the Idaho quadruple homicides. Those homicides occurred on November 13th, 2022 between 3 and 4 a.m. in Moscow, Idaho. Now that town has got 25 or 26,000 residents, of which 50% or so are students, and all of the victims were at the University of Idaho. The man that they arrested was not from the university. He was actually from a university close by, though, Washington State University, where he was busy with his PhD and clearly his own side projects, asking, to step basically into the criminal mind. Well, now he can study that for the rest of his life in prison if he is found guilty. Of course, a reminder that Bryan C Kohberger, 28, the man arrested, is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Police have yet to find the weapon that he used to commit these crimes. We also don't know if it could be more than one knife, but it's probably one weapon from what we know. We know that he was charged with felony burglary as well as 4 counts of first-degree murder. His extradition hearing is on January 3rd, 2022. So based on all that and everything that we discovered yesterday in the live press conference that we had, and also in the presentation that I had for you, please go check that out. It's all time-stamped and chaptered out for you, so you can just have a good look at just the slide and see everything there with bullet points. I am later today, depending on when you're watching this, so depends, look at the live stream right after this episode if you are watching this in the future. But later, I'm going to have criminal profiler John Kelly on the show, and he's bringing his team along as well, which is Stalk Incorporated. I'm going to link the website below so that you can check out exactly what that means, but the thing is, they're going to come and share the breakdown of this suspect's pathology, based on the profile that they've been building behind the scenes as this case has been unfolding. So now that someone has been arrested, it's going to be very interesting to hear their thoughts. So I hope that you will join us. Make sure you don't miss that by subscribing and hitting the bell. Turn it on to all, and make sure your notifications on the back-end settings of your phone also allow for YouTube notifications. Otherwise, you won't get it. And if you want a backup, Patreon is a really good way to have a backup of when I'm going live, because now I post my links there when I'm going live so that you know, okay, you get that in your email. In case YouTube notifications don't work, it's $1 to join. Not trying to plug it, trying to help you solve the notification problem. Okay, so let's have a look at what we know so far about Bryan C Kohberger.
I used to go on night runs with him because I didn't want to go running at night by myself. So I would text him hey, you want to go for a run? We go for 6-7 mile runs at night. So when I saw who it was, I was just in complete shock. I'm still kind of shaking knowing about that. It's just unreal to think somebody could actually do that to somebody. It's absolutely mind-boggling. My adrenaline's still kind of running after finding that information out. So just I feel for the families, and I'm just happy justice can be served now. So
I used to be friends with Bryan Kohberger during my middle and high school years. This is Brandon, the one I was just talking about. That's his wife, Brianna, and that's me. This was back in 2017. Obviously, that's Bryan. Still has the dead face that it's the eyes. I don't know. But when I spoke to him back in 2017, he was clean. He was a heavy heroin user back in high school. And it was just nice to see the kid clean up. And at that time, he said he was doing security detail. I believe it was out of school is what he told me. But he seemed like he was better. My mom sent me the old school yearbook. That was him. Bryan Kohberger, that's him. He went to Pleasant Valley, graduated with, I think, my friend Christopher, a year younger than me. This is when he nonchalantly decided to make me drive him around the Poconos for heroin, and I had no idea. I thought I was just doing a nice deed because he needed something, and it turns out that he was getting heroin.
So someone had commented and said that, what does something that you knew about him 5 to 10 years ago have to do with anything? The point of the matter is the police want anyone who knew him to reach out to try to get an idea of who he was, regardless of if it was 5 to 10 years ago or 3 minutes ago. Like, they want to know. They want to be able to piece it together. And even if it doesn't really help them because it's that long ago, at the end of the day, I knew him. I was friends with him. And I'm not trying to turn this into a whole, I knew him. Oh my God. Nothing like that. I want to be able to get my statement across. I want to be able to show my story, tell my story. I want my friends to be able to tell my story. I want my brother to, my mom to, which, by the way, my mom and my brother both had called the tip line and gave them their statements. I have a whole freaking novel typed out in my freaking email with the screenshots, which are like 25, by the way. I just want to be able to make sure that I don't know how to explain it. I just want to be able to make sure that I can convey what I know. If it helps or if it doesn't. At the end of the day, there are 4 victims who were brutally murdered. Their families, their friends, they want answers. And I have answers. Maybe not of why he did it, but I know who he was. And I just want to be able to, I don't know. And then someone else said I might get subpoenaed because of the video. Fuck it. Send me a subpoena. I'll make my statement. I'll look him dead in the eye and tell him what a piece of shit he is. You can rot in fucking hell. And then, is it only these 4 people that he killed? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's terrifying, and I'm going to need more than melatonin to sleep tonight. Definitely. Beats me because, thankful I invited him to a party in 2014. He's like, I love you guys. Always will, even if we stop talking one day. That scares me for some reason. It should put me at peace. Should put me at ease, but I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know.
Okay, so just a quick recap. He's 28 years old, from Pennsylvania, was arrested in Pennsylvania. Yes, he was a student at WSU. I believe he started there in around June or so, and they've been looking at his apartment as well for evidence. The prosecutor was there, a whole forensic team and everything, maybe looking, of course, for more DNA evidence, maybe the weapon, things like that. So they've been taking out boxes from their apartment in Pullman, Washington. So let's have a look at this, which actually says that his DNA was found at the scene. And they say that it didn't initially pop up on the system, from what I understand, but through genealogy websites, which is so interesting. That's why those are so cool and so important. So here they say cops are still searching for murder weapon used by Idaho murder suspect as he's charged with 4 counts of murder. Arrest comes after officers traced the white Hyundai to his Pennsylvania address and cross-matched his DNA found at the scene of the quadruple slaying. Now, mad props to the Moscow PD, who caught this guy within 47 days of the crime being committed. So as much as everyone was saying, this is a nothing burger, why are they even doing this? Why is the chief smiling? Why all this stuff, the criticism they got, I really all along said that I thought they're doing a good job. And I got criticized for it. Like, why do you say they did a good job? I think they did a good job all around. They kept everyone in the loop. They were communicating big time with all of us. And then at the end of the day, within 47 days to catch this killer across the country, all the way on the east side of America. For those of you like me, I'm South African living in the Netherlands, right? And if you look at the map, it's like, damn, the other side of the country, in Pennsylvania. And there's this white Hyundai, allegedly. Police said they have found a white Hyundai Elantra but that's still part of the investigation. So they didn't say we found the one, but still very amazing that they actually were able to track him down, a white Hyundai Elantra down, and that this guy is now behind bars. So I just also quickly, before I forget, want to say a lot of people are saying, but he said, were there any other people arrested, or, was anyone else arrested? And that's now making everyone kind of doubt, like, oh, are there more suspects? But the thing is, just remember, these types of killers, if I can for a second say, he's probably a budding serial killer, which is what John Kelly had also said on the show earlier, in earlier streams. But the thing is, John Wayne Gacy, a well-known serial killer, said, did you arrest the others? The minute that he was caught, that's what he resorted to. Did you arrest the others? To cast doubt, in the public eye. And why did they do this? Well, to protect their ego, and of course, to try to win legal battles, to cast doubt. That's literally the point of doing that. Now, we don't know if that is the case with him. Of course, there could still be the possibility that there are other suspects. But based on everything we know, it seems to me like this guy probably acted alone, especially based on his little thesis that he was busy with. So here they say, Idaho police say they're still searching for the murder weapon used to slaughter 4 students as they arrested and charged a 28-year-old with the killings. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 28, has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary, which he committed with the intention to kill the University of Idaho students. I will not be surprised if he took something from the home, which I don't know if this is in Idaho. Felony burglary replaces something like breaking and entering or trespassing, because that would normally be the charge if that was the intent. So maybe it's just that type of wording per different state, but I would not be surprised if he took something from that home, and maybe they found it in his apartment in Pullman, Washington. We just never know. So Moscow Chief of Police James Fry added that Kohberger was taken into custody by a SWAT team at a property in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania at 3 a.m. on Friday morning. During a press conference on Friday, authorities confirmed that a white Hyundai Elantra was discovered in the search, with sources saying it was towed from outside Kohberger's home. They also added that the weapon used to carry out the stabbing attacks hadn't been retrieved and appealed to the public for more information. Law enforcement sources told CNN that his DNA was discovered at the scene of the crime, with officers managing to track down who owned the car seen in the area of the slayings. Very interesting. So based on that, we don't know if it's one of his hairs that fell out, if it is from touching the victims fighting back because some of them had defense wounds. So maybe there really is some DNA under their fingernails and things like that. That is very possible. He could have, of course, cut himself while committing these horrible crimes. That is possible. But to me personally, based on someone this calculated, just from what I can see about him, and I could be wrong, but I think this guy would have come prepared, Maybe he had those gloves we looked at before, things like that. He might actually not have cut himself, and maybe, the victims scratched at his arms or something like that, or at his face. We don't know. We also don't know if he went in there with a mask and exactly what knife he used and all this stuff. This is all still going to come out, but it's very much part of now phase 2 of the investigation, which is the prosecution phase. So it's really just a new beginning in the investigation. Because I see a lot of people have said, like, why don't they tell us more? They can't, because they've got to prepare now the prosecution and the defense team so that this whole case can go to trial, and so that if this is the man that committed these murders, have a fair trial and then be sentenced correctly. Authorities then discovered that he had left the area and traveled to Pennsylvania, where an FBI surveillance team had been tracking the 6-foot-tall man. He was kept under surveillance, with the FBI watching him for 4 days, while investigators from Moscow Police and Idaho State Police worked to get an arrest warrant. It's giving me goosebumps right now. It must have been so epic, knowing, okay, this is the guy, and watching him for 4 days and then swooping in at 3 a.m. Bryan Enton actually went to the home where he was arrested, and it appears that a window is broken out. So can you imagine being part of that SWAT team that kicks in the door and goes in there to grab this guy out? It must have been so cool, and really well done to all of them. Authorities are still appealing for anyone with information on Kohberger or the quadruple murders to get in touch. And as we can now see, there's this outpouring of information happening. There's people that went to high school with him, that are coming forward, and I will insert those clips for you right after this. There's people that were at the university with him that are coming forward and talking about what he was like. So it's very interesting. I hope that everyone who has any shady information about him, things that could help in the investigation, if they've ever encountered him, or if he talked about, his urge to kill or something like that, or maybe, and it still feels like this could be a possibility, that those, the skinning of the dogs and things like that, and the rabbits, that could have been him practicing, because he was only 10 minutes away from 1122 King Road. Very interesting. And also, please keep in mind that he graduated from DeSales University, which with a master's in criminal justice, which is, again, in Pennsylvania, which means that he probably went to Washington State University around June to start his PhD studies, from what I understand, which is also the time that all of those roommates moved into 1122 King Road. Very scary to think. So whether he started watching them on social media or whether he was a fantasy killer, as we speculated before, Detective Ken Maines from Unsolved No More has pretty much all along said this is probably a fantasy killer. John Kelly as well said fantasy killer. If you're not sure what that means, don't worry. We're going to discuss it all later with the whole team. But if he was a fantasy killer, which he seems to, I would not doubt that he looks up to serial killers. And for everyone that doubted, that he's anything like Ted Bundy, he seems to be quite the mimic of Ted Bundy. He might actually admire this guy. You never know what these killers, who their mentors are, and it can be really, really scary. So, moving on, I've got a lot of waffle going on. I'm trying to keep this video real nice and short for you. So, authorities are still appealing for anyone with information on Kohberger or the quadruple murders to get in touch. What we did find out as well, John Kelly was saying a lot of times these killers are addicts, and the person who came forward on TikTok, who knew Kohberger in high school, said that he was a heavy heroin user. And the last time she saw him in 2017, he was actually clean for a bit, I would say. We don't know if he relapsed or if he was clean at the time here, but very interesting to know that as well. And then we've also speculated that he could have obsessive compulsive disorder based on, 11/22, and his birthday is also in November. He was born on November 21st, 1994. And so the 11/22 and the 1122 King Road and the 1 victim at the bottom and then 2 all of that, there could be patterns to that. And it's very interesting to learn from all these articles coming out now online and people talking about him that he had what they are saying now is kind of like a food fetish, but really what I would term that as is radical purism. He went vegan and he got so radical and purist about it that he asked his parents to buy new pots and pans so that he could use cooking tools that had never ever been used to cook meat with. So that is very interesting to consider that as well, especially if you go back and look at some of the profiles that were shared on this channel and many others. Okay, so they say Fry refused to rule out that the killer had an accomplice, adding, "We have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes. Details of the killings and the motive for them are yet to be released, with law enforcement saying a sealed arrest affidavit will be released once Kohberger is extradited back to Idaho." Now, the arrest affidavit that we got yesterday directly from the court, which is from The Docket. If you don't know who The Docket is, it's a friend here in the Grizzly community who sends me all the documents in these cases that I cover, which is just, I'm so grateful for it because I'm such a nerd and I love documents. So he sends that to us. And Grizzlies, if you want to say thanks to him for that, he does have a buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/The Docket. If you want to say, hey, thanks for that probable cause affidavit or the documents in whichever case I'm covering at the time. I'll put that in the link below. So what do you guys think the motive for these murders are? Were? Because based on his little thesis that he had, it seems to me that it's almost like that method acting, like he got way too deep and into the fantasy of all his criminal justice studies, that he actually wanted to experience it for himself. Now, I'm not saying he's Mr. Innocent over here and like, shame, he just wanted to experience for himself. I'm just saying I think he got into the mindset because he was busy trying to figure out what would it be like if you committed a crime? Like first person, give me your experience. Tell me how you chose your target. Tell me how you entered the home. All of that. These are some of the questions that he had, which we can also look at later in the live stream. Anyway, so they say he's currently in custody at Monroe County Jail in Pennsylvania until a hearing on January 3rd, because of course, he's probably going to be extradited and taken to Idaho. There's no set timescale for how long this extradition from Pennsylvania to Idaho might take. If Kohberger doesn't contest it, it'll happen relatively quickly. So here again is a photo of the man that has been arrested. Pretty scary if you ask me, just because, he seems to be, of course, a more intelligent and calculated killer than some of the ones we saw in 2022. Am I right? I know this is still 2022. Happy New Year if you're watching this from 2023. But yes, they say if he does, the process becomes more drawn out. The Idaho governor, Brad Little, will have to get involved. Friday, sensational arrest is the first major break in the case, with Kohberger asking if anyone else was arrested when he was taken into custody. Calculated strategy, in my opinion. Kohberger has no prior arrests according to public records, so it's unclear how officials got hold of his DNA. His aunt told the New York Post that he was above and beyond being vegan and obsessively forced his family to buy new pots and pans. They say pots and pants there. That's a typo. I like that typo. That's hilarious. Buy new pots and pants, okay, which had not touched meat. On Friday, a chilling survey created by Kohberger asking ex-criminals how they'd felt while committing their crimes re-emerged online. It came as police began, then halted, a cleanup effort at the murder house, with efforts to return it to its original state paused at news of Kohberger's arrest. Just before the arrest, haunting new footage of victim Xana Kernodle emerged, showing her talking to police about a noise complaint 2 months before her murder. Police are now searching Kohberger's apartment in Washington, 10 miles from the crime scene, arriving at around 7:30 a.m. to cordon off the area. Bill Thompson, the Latah County prosecutor, was also seen outside the apartment alongside investigators gearing up with protective booties before heading into Kohberger's apartment in Washington. Now here, the Daily Mail done some map time too, and you could see, damn, you thought Brian Laundrie drove far? Bryan Kohberger, he drove even further. As if Brian Laundrie's drive wasn't crazy enough after murdering Gabby Petito. If you didn't follow that case, damn, welcome to Grizzly True Crime. That's pretty much with that case and that coverage. I was brand new on YouTube. I started this channel in June of 2021, and then someone inspired me to why don't you cover a more active case right now? Why don't you cover the Gabby Petito case? I'm like, okay, I could try. And then off we went, because that news broke every hour. So to all the Grizzlies who were there during that time, damn, thank you for still being here, and welcome to all the new Grizzlies. Okay, so you can see this guy, he drove very far. We looked at this yesterday in the live stream as well. This is the apartment block where he was staying, which they're now searching, his room to see probably what evidence can they find there, what can they learn about this guy, even to learn about the profile of this killer, like the FBI BAU, for future cases, as scary as that sounds. Here you can see they say outside the apartment of suspect Bryan Kohberger in graduate housing on campus at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. Kohberger is being held for extradition in a criminal homicide investigation based on an active arrest warrant for first-degree murder issued by the Moscow Police Department and Latah County Prosecutor's Office. Sources say that authorities knew who they were looking for and hunted the suspect down to Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains, more than 2,400 miles from Idaho. News Nation reported that Kohberger had a quiet blank stare when arrested by local cops and the FBI on Friday morning. Well, yeah, I think if I could just say this loosely, a psychopath would have a cold blank stare, right? I don't think he'd be freaking out in general, especially if he is calculated. And why do we say he's calculated? Yeah, he was a PhD college student, in criminal justice studies, casual security guard, all of that. He seems pretty intelligent, very calculated, and sinister. It's understood that Kohberger is a PhD college student at Washington State University within the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, with the university removing his profile from their website. But Grizzlies have dug into the archives and found it, so there's not too much to see there, but thank you to everyone who sent that to me as well. According to the now-deleted webpage, Kohberger attended the college in Pullman, a 15-minute drive from where the students were killed. He graduated from DeSales University in Pennsylvania in May 2022 with a Master of Arts in Criminal Justice. As part of his research, Kohberger posted an appeal for help on social media with his research, which was looking at how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. Now, yesterday, I forgot to show you this damn document that I had, Court of Common Pleas of Monroe County. Again, there's not too much on here, but it was interesting to see nonetheless, and thank you to everyone. I probably got about 100 emails with these pictures and the actual PDF and everything, so thank you so much. Please don't be offended if I haven't replied to your email. I got so many emails in the last 24 24 hours, I think it would be physically impossible for me to reply to them all. And a lot of it is the same information. So just know I am so grateful. Don't be offended. Sources said that authorities who knew they were looking for and hunted the suspect down to Pennsylvania. Now, here's his research participation. He says, "Hello, my name is Bryan, and I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. In particular, this study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience. In the event that your most recent offense was not one that led to a conviction, you may still participate. Additional surveys are included after the open-ended section as to best understand your unique traits. The study should take about 15 to 20 minutes to fully complete." So there's that as well. His sister, Melissa, is a mental health nurse in New Jersey, specializing in trauma and emotion regulation. His father filed for bankruptcy in 2010. In a statement, DeSales University said, on Friday, December 30th, DeSales University learned of the arrest of Bryan Kohberger in connection with the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. Kohberger received a bachelor's degree in 2020 and completed his graduate studies in June of 2022. As a Catholic Salesian community, we are devastated by the senseless tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims' families during this difficult time. Moscow cops have been hunting that exact vehicle in the past 2 weeks in connection with the killings. Kohberger appeared in court this morning, with Moscow police confirming, that was yesterday morning, depending on when you're watching this, of course, that they will hold a press conference, and we saw that all together. And my word, there were 25,000 people watching my stream yesterday. That was a record, so I'm going to write that down and be like, whoa, that could be one for the history books. I don't know if we'll ever have 25,000 people watching one press conference with me all together, so thank you to everyone who made it yesterday. It was amazing to have you there. Okay, here they also say Bryan C Kohberger, 28, was arrested on a fugitive from justice warrant early this morning by members of Troop N and the Special Emergency Response Team at a home in Chestnut Hill Township, Monroe County. Kohberger was arraigned before on-call magisterial district judge Michael Muth and remanded to Monroe County Correctional Facility pending extradition to Idaho. Authorities were left baffled by the brutal killings and have repeatedly appealed to the public for help with the case. Reports from both the coroner and police confirmed that each of the students had been stabbed multiple times in the torso and were ambushed in their sleep. Police have found no evidence of a sex crime, and the victims had wounds on their bodies which indicated that they tried to fight off the attacker. So incredibly scary. Literally the stuff of nightmares. Okay, so the rest, we actually know. We know all this. If you've looked at the playlist and everything, I will link this article as well if you want to read the rest of it. It's very comprehensive. Damn, the Daily Mail, they really put everything into this article, so good job, because it's everything that I quickly wanted to share with you here, just in preparation for the live stream later. Please join, subscribe, hit the bell, come and join us, and if you want notification backups, as I say, go to Patreon, you're going to get them there. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to discussing the breakdown of his pathology later with a team of criminal profilers. I know that a few of the team members, it's New Year's Eve after all. It's, the last day of the year, 2022. But I'm so honored to whoever of the Stalk team can make it for tonight's live stream. It might end up just being myself and John Kelly, but maybe we'll be really lucky and have the rest of the Stalk team on board with us. Can't wait, and I will introduce them all to you later when the show begins. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Drop your comments below, share your thoughts. I'm always excited to read through all the comments and, see what you guys are thinking and saying. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.